You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
The Dre Area Sports Show is brought to you by SEATGEEK. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. And we are also brought to you by Taryn Roy, the SEO Optimizer. If you're looking to boost your YouTube channel, then check out the SEO Optimizer. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to start your free trial today. Power Brand Systems. If you're looking to build a website for your small business or YouTube channel, then check out Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase at Power Brand Systems.
Boy, do we got a lot to cover today. Signings, schedules, Brock Purdy. Here we go. Welcome to the Dre Area Sports Show. I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Sterling Bennett of 49ers Access Podcast. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sterling Bennett on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast, then you're really missing out. The guy creates amazing content daily, might remind you. So definitely check out 49ers Access, like, share, and subscribe for the most updated 49ers content. But guys, welcome to the show. Yes, it happened. We've been talking about it for days on end. Brock Purdy has been signed to a new 5-year, $265 million deal, an extension of his contract. He is now the highest paid player in franchise history. $165 million is guaranteed. So half that money is basically coming to him within the first 3 years, which I think is kind of interesting because if you're going to get all that money in the first 3 years, what does that mean after the next 4 years? Because obviously you have this year and then 3 more. I think that leaves it open for restructuring. You know, they could do a lot of things with that. But overall, though, I am so happy that they got this contract done. I love that it's before the preseason. Sterling, what's your take on the Brock Purdy contract?
I love it. It's hard for me to say anything bad about it. Obviously, you know, you can talk about Brock Purdy's play and what he's actually worth and what the market may have dictated for him. But I think San Francisco gets a thumbs up from me. I think you get things done before OTAs. And if you're Brock Purdy, you're feeling pretty good. You go from getting, you know, what was going to be $5 million this year, 8 against the cap, I believe, to now the highest paid player in San Francisco 49er history. And from what it seems like, $7 million per year under Dak Prescott's record-breaking contract for quarterbacks. So I think it's a great deal for both sides. And ultimately, I think it's a big win for San Francisco and what they're trying to do as a team with their finances and with the future of the roster. It really puts them in a good place where everybody thought Brock's going to get 60. Then it was Brock's going to get 55 per year. And they dwindled that thing all the way down to $7 million under market value. That's what you pay front offices for. And thankfully, Brock Purdy was willing to play ball with them and not settle or not hold out for the biggest contract ever for a quarterback. Thumbs up for me on both ends by both these guys, Purdy and the front office.
No, I think this is a great contract. What's up, Aaron? Big shout out to Aaron from 49ers First Takes. I think it's a great contract, and I love that they got it done early, and they got it at a price that everyone, you know, basically everyone debated on. Is it going to be 45? Is it going to be 50? Is it going to be 55? Well, they settled at $53 million per year, which I think is fine. I think it's actually lower than what they probably had projected. I'm sure they projected something going into this. It was going to land somewhere around $55 to $60 million, but no, it's at 53. And I love the way this contract works. I think it's great. Oh, there you go, historic. It's a perfect contract for everyone. Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, too, I heard a stat that based on the percentage of cap, he is the 14th highest paid quarterback based on the percentage of the team's salary cap. So that's one way to look at it, is that he's being paid as the 14th best quarterback in the league. And that's not to say that, like, oh, he's not worth that much. You know, what I'm saying is that he took less to make this contract work, not only for himself, but for the team as well. And I think this speaks highly of Brock Purdy and what his intentions were going into this contract negotiation. Sterling, do you think that this will allow the Niners more flexibility in the future, or if not later this offseason, in trying to acquire more players?
I don't know about later this offseason, but when you find out San Francisco's first offer was $49 million per year, according to Matt Mayoko, and he worked that thing up to 53. Again, it's a win on both sides. Brock Purdy gets paid a very large chunk of change, and San Francisco gets their guy. But I think where a lot of people are wrong about Brock Purdy and this contract is that all the detractors, even those in the national media and the pundits, they all say, well, the window is closed. You can't pay anybody else now. They just paid George Kittle this offseason. They're going to repay or going to pay again Fred Warner, whether it's this year or next year. They don't have too many guys they have to bring back in the next few years or so. So they don't really have to pay anybody else to return. However, I think where everyone's wrong is that this hamstrings their cap, that it just ruins what they can do financially over the course of the next, 5 or 6 seasons of his contract. Yes, it's a large chunk of change. Yes, things may get tight at times, but that's the reason why you draft well. It's the reason why you took 11 players in this year's draft class. And it's a reason why you were okay saying goodbye to a lot of, heftily paid players like Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins and Dre Area and Talanoa Hufanga. And you let, Mooney Ward leave in free agency, and we're okay not even giving guys offers to return because you knew we have to pay a quarterback a lot of money. That said, without knowing the exact breakdown of Purdy's contract and knowing the exact, the guarantees and whatnot of the deal, from the outside looking in, this feels like a contract that San Francisco is going to front load $181 million guaranteed, 100 in the first 3 seasons or so. And they're only paying him $5 million this year, and the extension doesn't kick until next year. So they're really getting a quarterback for 6 seasons of about $45 million per year.
Yeah.
That drops him under $50 million, drops him under, that 12, quarterback range. Instead of getting paid at the 7th quarterback rank between Tua and Jared Goff, he's really getting 45 per year. I think a lot of people are wrong that Brock's overpaid or he doesn't deserve it. Brock Purdy is worth $53 million a year, and he's going to get paid, estimated over the next 6 years, 45 per season. So they're going to be fine. I don't think they're going to pay anybody or go acquire somebody this offseason, but next offseason, during the year, they can still be aggressive. They can go get a cornerback or an edge rusher or a defensive tackle. They can find somebody they like, pinpoint them and target those guys and bring those guys in for 8 weeks, a couple of years. They're going to have plenty of money to spend. And I think in 2029, so in 5 seasons, when Brock Purdy's contract's almost done, guess what? TV deals are up. Boom. Cap explodes again. And this still looks like a bargain at that point in time.
I mean, when you break it down like that, where essentially, if you're counting this year, it's almost like a $45 million deal. And so I think that has to be taken into account because of how much money they're actually saving on this contract. And to me, look, this says a lot about Brock Purdy and how he perceived this contract. Did he want to have a contract that was going to be a record-breaking deal, more than Dak Prescott, more than any other starting quarterback, really gouged San Francisco and giving him as much money as possible, knowing that, look, what are your other options? Your other options are Mac Jones, or Tanner Mordecai, the quarterback they drafted in this past draft,
Curtis Rourke,
or go out and sign somebody. Like Aaron Rodgers, which is another toxic individual. So he could have done all that and probably brought in a huge contract where he gets paid $60 million. And we see other teams make the same thing where they give the player whatever they're asking for because they at this point they don't have a choice. Yeah, they got Mac Jones, but is that really the guy you want to go with? Well, I mean, he's talented, but he's not the guy you really want to go with. No, Brock took a contract that he felt was right, that worked for the team, that worked for him. And people kept saying, well, maybe he'll take a hometown or he'll take a discount. He's a man of faith. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. But I think what he did get was he got a good contract that's going to pay him and take care of him for the rest of his life. And here's the thing to remember as well. From the 2022 draft, right? He's the only quarterback who has signed an extension. He's also the only quarterback from that draft that is still on the team that drafted him. Everyone else is donezo. Even like Kenny Pickett. My God, that guy was a first-round pick. He's on like his third or fourth team already.
Yeah, third team.
I think Skylar Thompson got cut, or he's not with the Dolphins anymore because he got taken ahead of him. Howell, he's not with the Redskins anymore, or sorry, the Commanders. So
I think now he's in Minnesota.
I think he's in Minnesota or
third team as well.
Something like that. And so it goes to show you that, look, is the NFL draft a crapshoot? Yes, it is. But they struck gold when it came to Brock Purdy being the last freaking pick in the draft. The only thing worse than or lower than that would have been if he was an undrafted free agent, which he probably could have been if they didn't take him, obviously. But when you look at, since Brock Purdy has taken over, these are phenomenal stats brought to you by PFF. He has a 63.6 completion rate. That's second in the NFL. This is since he's taken over as our starting quarterback. He's averaging 12.5 yards per attempt. That's first in the NFL. The guy's averaging more than a first down. He's averaging he's compiled 5,638 passing yards, which is second in the NFL. And he's got a 125.1 passer rating, which is second in the NFL. All of this once he took over as the starting quarterback. Now, many would argue, well, he only has those numbers because he's surrounded by all these stars. I don't really buy that because we've seen other players, other quarterbacks who are more talented than Brock Purdy be surrounded by stars and not be able to get it done. I mean, look at Jared Goff for crying out loud. He looked awful in the playoffs. He got exposed, and he was on a star-studded team with a dual running back threat with Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Laporta at tight end. I mean, they were loaded. And you could argue, yeah, their defense didn't play very well, but that offense was loaded, and that offense didn't even show up.
Well, so let me ask you this. What are the expectations now for a player like Brock Purdy? Because everybody would rightfully say, win a Super Bowl. But I don't know if that constitutes this contract being successful. Because when I think about, what makes Jared Goff so successful, like Lions fans aren't saying, wow, Jared Goff sucks. They're saying, oh, man, how can we get better still, right? Philadelphia won a Super Bowl last year. Mm-hmm. Even in their down season, they weren't saying Jalen Hurts sucks. They were like, hey, how do we get better? And, Jalen Hurts wasn't the exact reason they won or lost either one of their Super Bowls. He was great again in the one they lost, and their defense was a big reason as to why they beat Kansas City last year. And Jared Goff at times has been the reason why the Lions have faltered, mainly against San Francisco in the playoffs. But I'm trying to I've been swaying back and forth of yes, if they don't win a Super Bowl, this is not a successful contract, but hyper-focused on Brock, kind of zoomed in on him. If he's out there, you're getting 4,000 yards a year, throwing for 27 plus touchdowns, under 10 interceptions, they're winning 10 plus games a season, and he's being a bigger or one of the big reasons as to why they're winning football games. That's a really successful contract for a player that you're paying under market value for. That needs to be constantly reminded to fans. You are paying under market value for a quarterback, more successful than most of the quarterbacks ahead of him, getting more money. That does not happen unless that player is willing to play ball, knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses, and is open to this team having more financial flexibility in the future to surround him with continual great talent to hopefully expand this window they're currently in.
Absolutely. And, when we look at his numbers, I said this earlier in my previous video. When you look at his numbers and his accomplishments speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Because, okay, look at last year. Okay, last year he threw for 3,864 yards, just under 4,000 yards.
And he missed 2 games?
What's that?
And he missed 2 games?
He missed 2 games. And he had 20 touchdowns, tied for 15th, and he had 12 interceptions, right? A QBR of 7.9, which is actually not a bad year. But when you go the previous year, he threw for over 4,000 yards. He had 31 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. So one more interception than he had the year before. And he had 113 rating. What's that? RTG. That's a quarterback rating, right?
It's rating, yeah.
Yeah, his ratings is 113. Last year was at 96. So yes, there was a dip in his numbers, but let's look at that though. Why was there a dip in the numbers? Well, for one, you didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, you had J.P. Mason, running like the next coming of fucking Derrick Henry, but you don't have the dynamic play that Christian McCaffrey brought in on every down. Yeah. So the threat that he is out of the backfield as a receiver, the threat he is as a running back, he does so many things for your offense that, he makes Brock better because Brock has that option of Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk held out, showed up, out of shape, was not 100% in terms of his health being in shape, and then he blew his knee out, and then he was gone. So his number one target the year before doesn't exist because he's not even there. He's out. And then on top of that, if you look at, George Kittle, he had a really good year. So he utilized George Kittle very well. But not having McCaffrey, not having a Brandon Ayuk, having this version of Deebo Samuel that was not very impressive, all these things played against him and the 49ers. And they still had a top 10 offense in the league. And to me, that goes to show you how good he played. People talk a lot about the game week 2 against the Vikings. They're like, oh, Brock really didn't come through. He threw some interceptions. I actually thought that was one of his better games because he was going against a really good defense, a Flores defense. And he even said afterwards that he was totally confused about what was happening in that game. And he still almost won that game. That's pretty remarkable. But overall, though, I give this contract an A. I love they got it done when they got it done. I love the price they got it at. And I think that, they set themselves up for success moving forward after signing Brock Purdy.
I think, we can talk about what Brock didn't have last year and almost to kind of a nauseating degree of like, well, he didn't have Ayuk and Deebo was terrible and the offensive line was really bad and Christian McCaffrey missed a lot of time. Mason missed time. And Guerrero was inconsistent, although he showed some flashes. Pierce Hall got shot. There's so many things to say the season wasn't great because of. However, and it's something that is tied to when you pay a player, mainly quarterbacks, this large of money, that doesn't matter. And you are going to have Brock take the next step. Now, Brock has been really good. 2023, he was incredible. 4th in the MVP vote, I believe. Then you had 2022, comes in middle of the year, post Jimmy Garoppolo breaking his foot. Can he come back? No one knows, and he doesn't have to now because Brock is so damn good during that season at the end and carries San Francisco's offense to even better numbers down the stretch. And had he not gotten hurt, may have been playing Kansas City again for all we know in that Super Bowl as well. So I just think for all the great Brock has done, which there's been so much of it, there is a little bit of that, okay, well, now you're getting paid like one of the big dogs. You got to be one of the big dogs. And I think it's pretty accurate to say on his best day, Brock probably is the 7th best quarterback in football. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's not the Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. He hasn't been an MVP winner. He's not a guy that has the elite talents that are on physical display week by week. But Brock is usually better than Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence, and usually is more healthy than Joe Burrow, albeit Burrow is in that top 5 for sure. But Brock, to me, on his best day, is probably the 7th best quarterback in football and has funny enough, showed a really high floor for being a 7th-round Mr. Relevant draft pick. Yeah, he's had some real stinkers like his one against the Ravens on Christmas Day in 2023, but overwhelmingly, Brock's floor has been pretty high.
Yeah.
That said, if Brock's floor can remain where it is, where he looks pretty consistent week by week, do you think there is a much-needed conversation to be had that, look, Brock's been great, but now you're getting paid $53 million a year over the course of your contract extension. You got to be better now. You got to take that next step as you enter your second contract. I think that's pretty fair to ask of Brock Purdy.
I think so. I mean, look, when you compare him, not so 2 years ago, to me, that's when he earned his contract based on how he played
Sure.
the year we went to the Super Bowl. Now, last year was a tougher year because of all the injuries, because of all the missing players. But I think that as long as he continues to do what he's doing, which is being decisive, being smart, understanding the game, making the right decisions and the right throws, I think he will be fine because he's already proven to you that, or proven to me at least, that he can thrive in the Kyle Shanahan offense. The team rallies around him. He's a leader. What he has mentally in how he processes the game is almost second to none. A lot of these quarterbacks coming out of the draft, they don't process the way Brock does. They can't process as fast as Brock does. We've seen Brock go through all of his progressions before he makes a play. And not only that, but Brock has also shown that he can scramble and run with the football, which some of these quarterbacks still can't even do. So to me, unless he has a catastrophic season, I think he's perfectly fine the way he is, and I think he's only going to get better.
Let me ask you this, too, because a lot of people this year were saying, trade Brock, go draft a quarterback.
No.
And it's funny that let's just utilize the last 2 years of play for Brock. And let's include last season as well, 24 and 23.
Yeah.
And you put that up with the resumes. Obviously, Brock is more proven at the NFL level, but let's say it's college. Let's just say it's college. And you say Titans, Browns, and Giants are on the clock at 1, 2, and 3. Okay. The Browns don't draft the quarterback until round 3. Okay. There's a real conversation to be had that had Brock Purdy been coming out of college this year with this group of play he had, he's the number 1 pick in this year's draft. I think that's a pretty fair assessment to make. Now, let's say you like the traits of Cam Ward better, but I guarantee you Brock Purdy is on the board at pick number 2 overall. Them Browns ain't trading down. Them Browns ain't trading down at all. They're taking Brock Purdy.
You're saying if Brock stayed in college longer and was coming out this past draft?
Like what I'm saying is take the last 2 years of play from Cam Ward and all the quarterbacks in this draft class and then Brock Purdy's and say Brock was at college at Iowa and say he's coming out this year. And he's put up those numbers in college. In that play, NFL scouts are saying, hey, Brock's a top 5 pick in this year's class.
I think he definitely could be. I mean, the one thing, of course, they're going to say is he's not as tall, and he doesn't have the strongest arm as some of these guys do. So that's always going to play against you. Strong arm and size is always what everyone kind of clings on to. Look at Josh Allen. He's like the Superman of quarterbacks. But here's the thing, though, is that, like, for you to land a guy like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, you have to literally win the lottery. Because those versions of them only exist once. You don't have multiple Lamar Jacksons running around. You don't have multiple Josh Allens. So they hit on those picks. They drafted Josh Allen out of Montana. I think it was Wyoming State, or Wyoming with the Cowboys. And so even when they drafted him, I thought, hey, I like Josh Allen. He was good in college. I think he'll be a good quarterback. No one knew he'd be this good. Nobody knew that.
And he wasn't this good to begin with. It took him 3 years to really click.
But even coming out of college, he was not projected to be this fucking good. He was projected to be a solid starter with a strong arm and athletic. And with his size, able to move and run. So he had a lot of strong attributes. No one said when this guy comes out, if everyone knew how good Josh Allen was going to be, he would have been the number 1 pick. There's no doubt about it. The Niners would have drafted Patrick Mahomes. They knew how good he was going to be. But no, nobody knows how good these guys are going to truly be until they actually take the field and start playing. Look at Trey Lance. Trey Lance had all kinds of talent, all kinds of crazy abilities, but it didn't come together. It didn't work out for him. Now, I often wonder how the season would have gone if he hadn't broke his foot or his ankle, whatever it was, if he hadn't hurt himself. If he would have stayed healthy,
he probably would have got benched.
He probably would have got benched.
He probably would have got benched.
I mean, it would have been it would have been worse. To me, it would have been a worse. What do you call it? Not a progression, but he would have digressed worse than Colin Kaepernick.
That's the word you're looking for.
Regress. Thank you. The regression would have been worse than Colin Kaepernick. I mean, we saw Kaepernick
for Trey Lance.
Year. Yeah.
Well, first, to have regression, you have to have progression, and there was never any of that with him. That's the big difference.
But that's the thing. Once, like, we saw Colin Kaepernick, we saw what he can do, and we were
great
like,
for 2 years.
This is great. This is amazing. And then every year, it just got worse and worse and worse. This would have been all in one season. Not even a full season. It just would have got worse and worse and worse and worse, and then it would have been over. They would have subbed him out. And that's why they kept Jimmy Garoppolo around. There's a reason why they kept Jimmy Garoppolo around. It wasn't because they were like, well, hey, you're in the room. Why don't you want to just sign the contract? I think they knew that Trey Lance might not be able to get this done.
Well, it's funny you bring up Trey Lance and you kind of get into the conversation as a quarterbacks and whatnot. But the one thing I was telling Aaron yesterday on our live stream when the news broke about Brock Purdy's extension was that one of the big differences in this window, which has kind of stemmed and kind of gone from 2019 to now, is that the regime was never truly bought in on Jimmy. John Lynch was, Kyle wasn't. They were talking about Tom Brady in 2020, and obviously things didn't happen for a variety of reasons. And, you know, in retrospect, it wasn't a great decision, but anyways. Then they got Trey Lance, which who knows exactly who wanted him, and that didn't work out, but for the first time with this regime, they finally have the quarterback both guys really want in the room. Yeah. Like, we have never heard Kyle and John be this adamant of this is the guy. And even with Trey, you have to back up your first round pick after taking him, because why wouldn't you do that? It would be pretty dumb not to. But they learned pretty quickly in 2022 in camp that, oh my God, Brock's the fourth quarterback here, but he's the best one. And they've been on the Brock, bandwagon, for the last 3-4 seasons now. And what makes me excited is you can bicker back and forth as to how high Brock's ceiling is and how far he can take the team. This team has their quarterback and doesn't feel the need to trade away 3 first-round draft picks to go find the next guy, which tells me the window's not going to be closed. Even if they are a 10-win team the next 5 years and whatever, they have the ammunition, they have the first-round draft picks to keep the roster youthful, to go make crazy trades, acquire people, and really can almost capitalize on Brock's one window, but also they can capitalize on his contract being lower than expected, and also his talent, which is still evident in his play. Like, people often just look at price tag and go, nope, not worth it. But for Brock, it's a little different, where it's like, yeah, Brock was getting paid $60 million a year. I think we're all having a very big different conversation. It's like, oh God, is Brock worthy of being the highest paid quarterback in league history? No. But he could have asked for it. Yeah. He didn't get it though. And he's getting paid $7 million under that with those first round draft picks in San Francisco's holster, with 11 draft picks coming in this year in a remade defense. And look, they're going to struggle at times. It's a young defense. They're youthful. They'll make mistakes, but that's why you pay Brock Purdy. That's why you give Kyle his quarterback, to say, hey, as we rebuild this defense, you want stability in that quarterback room. Let's pay Brock Purdy under market value and believe in he'll be the guy for us and hopefully get us that 6th Lombardi eventually.
And I think he can do that.
Yes.
A lot of pundits out there will tell you, no, he's not the guy. He can't get it done. They're wasting their money. I disagree. I think that this guy has what it takes to win. He's shown that in the playoffs that he could play at a very high level, outplay a lot of these other quarterbacks that were taken ahead of him, that were graded ahead of him or above him. So no, I think this is the right move for San Francisco. I mean, we heard it very early on in the what year was it? In 2023, I think it was, or maybe it was the following year we went to the Super Bowl. But we heard Kyle Shanahan said, he was like, no, Brock's a real deal. He said that flat out, and it wasn't like, I'm just saying it just to back up my quarterback. No, he fully meant that. Guys, we have 101 watching right now. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on X, make sure you follow both of our accounts, 49ers Access and Dre Area Sports, for the most detailed and best 49er content on the internet. It's coming out of us two right here. So they made the signing of Brock Purdy. They got the extension done. We've been talking about this for weeks now, months, almost a year, that this had to get done before the season started. They did that. They're really making up for all the mistakes they made last season. We're not waiting till the last minute. We're not waiting through preseason and training camp to get these guys signed. Now Brock Purdy is signed. They got George Kittle. They got that contract done as well. There's a rumor that they could move on to Fred Warner. But I think we touched on this a few weeks ago. They don't have an urgency to get Fred Warner's contract done. He still has 2 more years. I would think after this next season is when you would go in and say, okay, how do we rework this deal, and how do we give you that extension that you rightfully deserve? Because imagine they do that and he gets hurt. I mean, we saw last season, he played on a broken foot for more than half the season. And I'm sorry, I love that he did that. I commend him for that, but that slowed him down. And because you saw his production kind of go down a bit. I mean, if I'm playing on a broken foot, I wouldn't be very good either. So, dude, the guy is a warrior out there. But what did they do this year? So far, they have rebolstered the linebacker position. Obviously, we still have D. Winters. They drafted Nick Martin. They still have Curtis Robinson, who's coming back, Tatum Bethune. So they still have some options there at linebacker. I don't see them going out and signing another linebacker, but it's possible. But I think they're going to roll with the guys they already have and try to develop these guys. Let me ask you, do you think that D. Winters is going to be the starter, or do you think someone like Nick Martin could surprise everybody and be that starter next to Fred Warner?
I think it'll be D. Winters, at least to begin the season. I think Nicholas Martin can certainly come in and play, be the Aziz Al-Shire, if you will. The way Winters plays, Saleh can be kind of picky, and I think Nicholas Martin was clearly one of his picks in the draft, obviously. The consensus says it was an overdraft by a lot of means, and I think I'd be in that grouping, although I do like Nicholas Martin a lot.
Yeah, same thing.
When you draft a player in the round 3, you expect them to be a contributor for you in year 1. I just don't know if it's going to be immediate. Martin plays really fast. Just the coverage skills, I think, leave a little bit to be desired. And I think D. Winters, at least if he can stay healthy, can be that day 1 starter for you while Martin kind of catches up to speed at the NFL level. I think that's the biggest difference. But we can be having a conversation as to week 10, home against the Rams, Nicholas Martin's getting the start. That's a real possibility. I think Martin will be, I don't want to say a key contributor for them, but I think he'll be an important piece of the defense in some aspect this year, whether it's special teams or replacing an injured player or becoming a starter later in the season. But I think D. Winters played, he was the highest graded coverage linebacker in football last year. Why would he not start day 1 for you? At least, is Martin ready to be playing at the NFL level? Probably not yet. Most rookies aren't, right? There'll be times Micah Williams looks over his skis at times, and that's why you have veterans next to him. And that's why you had Fred Warner, obviously. But Winters is going into year 3, looked pretty good in year 2. And it will be foolish to me to not have one of the best coverage linebackers in football not starting for you, at least in the immediate, as Martin grows as a player in year 1, coming off of an ACL injury, mind you.
Yeah. I think that, D. Winters should be the starter, theoretically. It wouldn't surprise me if Nick Martin, played his ass off and took that spot from him, or eventually takes it over. Right. Because he's a sideline kind of guy, but so is D. Winters. But it's a matter of, can D. Winters stay healthy? And every season, he keeps getting hurt on the weirdest ways possible. He overruns somebody. And they, he hurt his knee. What? So if he can stay healthy, I think he could be a real factor. I mean, look, a lot of people, even including myself, questioned why wasn't he starting in place of Devondre Campbell? Was D.
Right.
Winters' play that bad that Devondre Campbell had to be in there? No. Again, they were doing the things that I want them to stop doing, which is, well, we got to play him. We signed him to a contract, so we got to play Devondre Campbell. And then to hear even Kyle Shanahan say, he's been so good for us, and everyone knew, like, dude, you got to be kidding me. Devondre Campbell has been awful. He had a couple of good games. The Buccaneers game was good. The Cowboys game was good. But overall, he was garbage, hot garbage. Yeah. And then he shit on himself on the way out. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Martin makes a bigger impact on this team than people think. And I think that D. Winters should be the starter, but it wouldn't surprise me if Nick Martin outplays him to get that starting role. But in the NFL, it's all about experience as well. And, D. Winters has more experience than Nick Martin. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out. So as we talk about the defense, I did want to bring up a few other notable signings that I thought was pretty significant for the 49ers. And one of them was this one right here, which is they signed C.J. West, their 4th-round pick, out of Indiana. This is huge. I love this. I know TJ West is now wearing, I think, number 99. I didn't like the number 50. I didn't like that. But now he's wearing 99 because Alfred Collins changed his number. But anyway, I like this pick. I like the signing. I'm glad they've got this done again early, but you kind of have to. CJ West is officially a Niner under contract. I think he's going to make a big difference in our defense, especially against the run.
I mean, kind of has to, right? That's why he was picked. I think, honestly, I really think CJ West has a higher upside than Alfred Collins, at least when it comes to being a pass rusher. Mm-hmm. Run defense can be different, but just a space eater overall. And I don't think there was any question as to, these guys weren't going to get signed. I know I've seen some fans worried about Alfred Collins, him not being signed. I don't think he's practiced thus far with the team. I think he had an ankle injury during mini camp or rookie camp. So that maybe has held things up. I'm not sure if it's like a physical thing, but it's not like these deals are like you can only go so high. there are limits as to how high you can do these deals now with the rules the NFL has in place with the bargaining agreement. So, but yeah, Wes is awesome. He was, I think, a lot of Niner fans' draft crush coming out of this year's draft class out of Toledo or not Toledo, excuse me, Indiana. Yeah. And just to have him in your defensive line, the presence he brings on base downs, first and second down, and you get him with Saleh and you get him with Chris Kosaric, to have a space heater for the first time since DJ Jones is such a big deal. We can talk about, Eric Armstead and all that. And Armstead was really good at doing that as well. Mm-hmm. But Armstead can also play outside and too, and gives you more of that, Micah Williams prototype of can play inside and outside and can do stuff for you with the long arms. But Wes is just that bowling ball. I want to run through centers and run through guards and just make him eat shit, really. And those guys are so valuable for you on defense. And
absolutely.
In San Francisco last year was pushed around so much up front on both sides of the football.
Terrible. It was terrible.
And you can tell there was a desire and an effort to say, not again. Not again. It's not going to happen again.
They had to watch that every week and just get pushed around.
Especially against Kenneth Walker and James Conner and Kyron Williams. The NFC West has really good running backs, and they're saying, nope, never again.
And on top of that, they made one more signing, a big announcement, which was they signed Micah Williams, their 1st-round draft pick, number 11 overall, a draft pick that all of us analyzed and studied until finally on draft day they made their selection. He has agreed to a $24.94 million contract that includes $14.78 million in signing bonus. This is great. I'm glad we have him signed. I think it's a 4-year deal at that, which is typical kind of rookie deal of 4 years. Right. I think Michael Williams is going to be phenomenal for the 49ers. Is he going to be a huge pass rushing threat? That I think he still has to work on, but in terms of setting the edge, in terms of being a run stopper, along with CJ West and Alfred Collins, I think this defensive line is going to be leagues better than what we had last season.
I mean, it couldn't get any worse.
It couldn't get any worse.
It's but yeah, I mean, mean, you talked a lot about Micah Williams and what he could bring to the defense and the long arms, the strength, and I don't know how much of the ankle hurt him last year. I think it'll certainly help us bend and giving him more twitch. But again, just having those hard-nosed dogs on your defensive line make a difference. Guys that can go to war and play inside and play outside and take on tackles and take on guards and centers, and guys that aren't going to back down. San Francisco clearly valued getting more powerful to just smack dudes around and wear down. And that's the big thing here. You can have speed rushers and guys that have finesse moves that can do spins and are twitchy, and all those things are great. Those guys are valuable. James Pierce Jr. got traded up for by the Falcons this year with the Rams for a reason. And Mike Green was, a lot of people's first round picks on draft, on mock drafts for a reason, because those guys are twitchy and they can do things with the pass rush moves. But what really becomes valuable is when you have powerful, strong defensive linemen that can play 35, 40 snaps a game if you're lucky.
Yeah.
The guys have great stamina, but guys that can wear down offensive linemen. That way, late in games, when the game is close and it's a one-score game and Mahomes is marching downfield, and can you stop him with a 3-point lead in overtime? Can you get to the quarterback and bring him to the ground and get through a tackle or get through a
Why did you say that name?
I don't want to talk about Patrick Mahomes and trying to stop him. Okay, I've already been down that road. I can't do this again.
But it's so valuable to have players like Collins and Williams and West, because those guys late in games will wear down offensive linemen to give your pass rushers, to give your speed guys, your Samos, your Yetur Gross-Matoses, and maybe if you're lucky, your Robert Beals can get back there and make a play late in the game and change the outcome.
We should have won that game. We were a better team. Anyway, okay, so here we go. We have some more breaking news by the San Francisco 49ers that I think is pretty interesting. Let's go to that right now. They have brought in competition for Jake Moody. Greg Joseph, former kicker for the Minnesota Vikings, is coming to camp to compete with Jake Moody. And this tweet here comes courtesy of Mr. Wayne Breezy. What did you think about this? I mean, I like this. I think this is you got to have a veteran come in and challenge Jake Moody. I'm sorry, but Jake Moody got a lot of talent, but man, was he terrible last season. Now, granted, they kept saying, well, his foot was still injured. He wasn't 100%. If he wasn't 100%, why'd they bring him back? I mean, we were rifling through kickers left and right. I mean, they could have went with the guy they had. I forgot his name from the Packers.
Anders Carlson
for at least another 2 weeks. Instead, they brought him back, Jake Moody, early.
Well, they also had Matthew Wright as well.
They had Matthew Wright.
Against Seattle, yeah.
Our kickers can hit, man. They'll take you out, and they'll take themselves out with you. Now, what do you think? Do you think that Moody still becomes or does Moody keep the starting kicker position, or do you think he falters to a guy like Greg Joseph?
Well, that depends on how stubborn Kyle and Brant Boyer will be. It'll be interesting to see how Brant Boyer views San Francisco's special teams, because clearly they brought in a ton of guys to replace a lot of guys on the roster. Richie Grant, Jason Pinnock. I'm forgetting the linebacker they signed from Tennessee, but Luke Farrell was brought in, backup tight end, but he'll be on special teams as well. Brought back Ross Dwelly. They brought in a lot of guys that are going to be on special teams. Even Nicholas Martin, Junior Burgeon, guys who are punt returners and kick returners and linebackers and safeties. Those guys are valuable, mainly on special teams. And I think, the Niners realized how bad things were from a coaching perspective, but also how bad things were from a personnel perspective. I mean, saying goodbye to Demetrius Flanagan-Falls is like an automatic upgrade. He was so bad last year.
He was so bad.
On special team, just missing, his assignments and whatnot. But in terms of kickers, I have a hard time believing Kyle is willing to swallow the mistake that is Jake Moody just yet. I think that they realize, look, Jake had a heck of a workout. The talent is there. Let's not forget, Jake is a good kicker when he's not missing kicks. The issue is he misses a lot of kicks, and that's a problem. And you bring in Greg Joseph, who, funny enough, did have one kick attempt last year for the New York Jets. So Boyer knows him. They went through a lot of kicking issues last year in New York. They brought him in last year. It was 1 for 1, I believe. And he made one from inside the 20 or inside the 30. So there is some familiarity there. He has starting experience. I also think this is probably the best kicker you were going to be able to get to compete with Jake Moody. A lot of people wanted to sign Kenny Almendaris out of college, and he's at rookie camp. You never know. And it's like, no, to push Jake, you have to have a vet that's got it done over time. And Greg Joseph has been, pretty good in his entire career. Obviously, he's been looking for a job since 2023, but those things matter. And I think that despite Jake probably keeping his job this year, which will piss off fans, I think there's a higher chance Greg Joseph takes Jake Moody's job than, say, anybody else that was on the open market this offseason.
How many kicks do you think he'll be allowed to miss in the preseason?
Jake?
Yeah.
Let's assume he gets 3 a game. 3 field goal attempts per game. Let's just say that out loud. So he gets 9 total throughout preseason. I think if he misses 3 of those, he's done.
Yeah, I would say 3. If he
misses 2, different story.
Yeah, if he misses 2, he retains his job. If he misses 3, I'm sorry. You got to go. But the thing is that even if he misses 2 and you're on the fence, the moment you let go of Greg Joseph, he'll probably sign with somebody else. And you're like, shit, he's gone already. Because they had a kicker in the last preseason that actually was pretty good. And they ended up, saying sayonara.
Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah, something like that. So there it is. Jake Moody will receive competition for his position by Greg Joseph. We'll see how that plays out throughout the preseason. Another thing I wanted to bring up, too, was the fact that, and this comes courtesy of Adam Schefter, the Niners have probably the easiest schedule in next season, which is crazy to say, but here it is. They have it. Go ahead. They have a way over 400 percentage, winning percentage. I mean, look at this. This is crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of that favors them in the second half of the season.
Yes.
They don't go to the East Coast until they go there week 9 against the Giants. They don't go there again the rest of the year. And their travel dates they have on the road, Indianapolis is in a dome. The Browns is the one that may be an issue, but that was always going to be a problem because Jim Schwartz and that defense and whatnot. But they could be playing Dylan Gabriel or Joe Flacco or Shedeur Sanders or Kenny Pickett, and it's yeah, they lost to Philip Walker a couple years ago, but it's the defense was literally historical, whereas this year's Browns defense is probably not going to be that good.
Well, you got Myles Garrett and Abdul Carter, a dual threat on the edges.
Abdul Carter's in New York, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They have Mason Graham on the inside,
They got Mason
brother.
Graham. That's
He's
right.
puking during rookie camp.
He looks like the
literally
kid from The Sandlot. That's what he looks like. But and that goes to show you, that's who I thought they were going to take was Abdul Carter because, I mean, let's face it, at this point, Myles Garrett is your franchise player. So it's hey, let's give him a partner to play with. That way he feels supported. But no, they didn't do that. They went and got Mason Graham. Well, I think it's still going to be really good. But it'll be interesting to see who's going to be their quarterback because what's this? Different show, different bums. Go
You're
Lions.
a Lions fan.
Oh,
One pride, brother. One pride.
One pride here. This is what was his name?
Come call me when Jared Goff goes to a playoff game without Ben Johnson and Sean McVay.
Yeah, Marcus Newsome. This one's for you.
Winner.
What is that? Winner. What is that?
I made that after he made all those stupid 4th down decisions against the Niners in the NFC title game.
That was Josh Reynolds' fault. Let's not forget. He dropped 2 passes.
You don't go for 4th down in an NFC title game. One pride for life.
20.
Yeah, how did Jared Goff do in the playoffs last season? Oh, I forgot. He shit the bed like everyone thought he would. So
like Sam Darnold did.
What's that? Yeah, just like Sam Darnold did. They're like, I guess he's not that good.
Have
and
you
they
seen
shipped him off.
Seahawks fans? they're like, oh, this is the greatest news ever. Brock Purdy signs with the Niners for longer. And I go, you realize he's 5-1 against you and like annihilated you guys in the playoffs his first year as a starter.
Yeah,
Like
he's a career
40
backup.
points.
Sam Darnold's the next coming of like a Kirk Cousins, but even worse. This is the other one I played.
Don't do Kyle Shanahan that. He'll sign him right now.
I know. This is the other drop I used to play for Dan Campbell right after that NFC title loss.
Ask the child if he or she is choking.
Are you choking? Are you choking?
You're a fucking idiot.
His coaching staff was like, "Are you choking? Why are you going for a fourth down? Take the points." They could have won that game if they just didn't go for it on fourth down that many times. Okay, so we're talking about the easy schedule. I wanted to ask you about their schedule. Looking at the 2025 schedule, I had them projected to win and going 13-4 on the season. I really believe that they're going to come out with a full head of steam and really jump on this schedule. I mean, we thought that last year too, but we saw what happened.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Yeah. So to me, there's a few marquee games on here that I'm really looking forward to. One of which is Week 1 at Seattle. Probably one of my most anticipated games of the season. I cannot wait for Week 1 on the road in Seattle. It's going to be loud. The stakes will be high. And this is a game that you can't just walk into and lose. You have to set the tone for your season in Week 1. It's not like you're going against the Saints in Week 1 where you're like, oh, we're going to come in there and just steamroll these guys. No, like the Seahawks are going to give you 100% maximum effort. And so I'm really looking forward to Week 1 against Seattle. The other game I'm looking forward to is what week is that? 1, 3, 4, 6. Week 8 against the the Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryans against Kyle Shanahan. That's going to be a huge matchup. And also where it lies, too. I mean, it's in Week 8. You'll know by then if the Niners are going to be a dominant or have a winning record. So there's a lot of implications on where that game falls. It's like right smack dab in the middle of the season. So I can't wait to see that. And I also think when you go to Week 4, to me, if you lose in Week 5, if you lose in Week 1, then you have to win in Week 5. You cannot lose on the road in LA if you've lost Week 1. So those two games, Week 1 and Week 5, are pivotal for San Francisco in the division because they're both division matchups, but they're both teams that have the ability to really shock the Niners. I do think the Cardinals are going to be a better team, and they gave the Niners a lot of problems, but I actually had them losing on the road later in the season to the Cardinals. It's just one of those games where the Niners show up and then all of a sudden just stink it up and somehow blow this game. But I project them to be 13-4. How did you see this schedule kind of playing out based on what we know now?
Yeah, me and Aaron went through this when the schedule got released, and he changed his mind a lot throughout the show and was like, well, and he came in like, I'm going to be really skeptical and pessimistic, and I think he had
I never would have thought that.
with like 13 or 12 wins, and it was like, that's not really pessimistic.
That's pretty good.
And like, I was trying to be positive, like, oh, this, but also be realistic and saying like, the season's always ebb and flow and whatnot. And obviously, I had them going 11-6. I had them vying for the NFC West. I don't know if they'll get there. I think the Rams are going to be pretty good. But also, I don't think the Rams are a 15 or 14 or even a 13-win team this year. Stafford's going to go down for a game or two. He'll miss some time. And I'm sorry, I don't believe in a 33-year-old Jimmy Garoppolo to help a team win football games at this point in time, even if it is Sean McVay. And I'm dreading, for their sake, Devontae Adams and Jimmy Garoppolo having to play together again after how bad receiver was on
Isn't
Netflix.
that
Look how much
crazy?
he was complaining about it. But I had them going 11-6. I think they'll be competitive. They'll be in the playoff hunt. I think they'll go to the playoffs this year. I think the way me and Aaron had structured it was like Niners-Rams, the wild card round at SoFi. And he had the Rams winning, and I was like, nope. I think at that point, San Francisco wins, but I think the games I'm like looking forward to watching, and seeing San Francisco win is I think they win, week 1 against Seattle. I think they beat the Rams a couple times. Probably I think they beat them on the road to begin the year, then they lose at home against them later on. But I had them sweeping Seattle, splitting with the Rams, and I had them being swept by the Cardinals, actually.
Wow.
I am mortified of what Robert Saleh's defense looks like against Kyler Murray. And I love Robert Saleh, but Murray just always gives the wide 9 fits. And I think the Cardinals later in the year, I wish we were playing them where we were playing the Bears, because my concern is that you want to get Kyler when he's coming off an injury, and usually he's hurt around the last month of the season. In this case, we're playing them, I think, week 11. But I'm also I'm not scared of the Bears, but the longer you have Caleb Williams in a Ben Johnson offense, the better he should get. And so I'd rather play them earlier in the season. That one concerns me. But other than that, the real healthy, scary game is the Giants one because of MetLife. But when you have Tennessee at home, you don't go to the East Coast until week 9, and you don't go there again the rest of the year. And the schedule really favors San Francisco from a traveling.
Oh yeah.
Late in the season when you're banged up and you're healthy and all that stuff. But I think that the Niners are going to be fine. 11-6. My one underlying concern is that you have a lot of guys coming off of injuries. Does that linger into this year? That could be an issue for me as well. But if they don't win, if they don't win double-digit games after paying Brock Purdy $53 million a year and having the easiest schedule in the entire league since 2015, that's a disaster. That's a disaster.
Yeah. With this schedule and the talent they've brought in, the signing of Brock Purdy, the extension of George Kittle, and you have a losing season, heads are going to roll. I would think John Lynch is probably going to get fired if they don't
Put a
have
sleeve for TV on Amazon. He's fine.
But what I'm saying is that if they have a losing season, then he's gone. I think Kyle Shanahan stays, but John Lynch is going to feel the wrath of the Yorks.
But you know what happens though, right? They just they fire Robert Saleh. Gus Bradley's already in the building. He replaces Saleh. Oh, now we got the guy we actually wanted all along.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy Huxley over on your side had this super chat where he's just talking shit to the Marcus Newsome, who's a Lions fan. He paid to say this.
Hey, man.
You pressure goof. He is
for
useless as a chicken-flavored lollipop.
I think he's referring to dodgeball, where he goes, "You're more useless than a poopy-flavored lollipop." Little Patches O'Houlihan right there, Tommy Huxley.
That's
Tommy
$2.
also asked earlier. He's like, "I'm getting married. Is my life over?" And to that I say, yes. It's over. The prime is behind you.
Yeah. I'm doing this right now because my wife's not even home. That's why I'm like, let's go now. I have a window. Let's go. But
you said we got to do this in secret, brother. Nobody can know about
Nobody can know. Everyone, don't let anyone know we're live. No, but if there's any game on this schedule that I see the Niners just completely blowing and fucking up, to me, it's November 16th against the Cardinals on the road. Ooh. I see them blowing that game. Another game, I had them winning it, but I feel like if they beat the Rams in week 4, then I think they lose to the Buccaneers in week 5. If the Niners win in week 4, if they lose in week 4, then they'll win, vice versa. It's either a win and a loss or a loss and win. I feel like going to Tampa Bay cross country, probably a 10 a.m. start time, is going to screw them up.
But it's a long week for them. They're on Thursday, then they play on. They have the extra 3 days.
I know, but still, I don't know why. Just the travel has me worried going to cross country. I don't really fear any other team. I mean, even the Browns. I think they're such a shit show.
Dude, Jim Schwartz, man, he has Kyle's number.
He does. You know who else's Kyle's number is Jonathan Gannon. Every time they play against him, he always does well against the Niners, which is the head coach of the Cardinals. He always has a good plan. I mean, last year watching Kyler Murray just keep the ball and run all the way for a touchdown, I was like, what the fuck? What just happened? That was one of the worst losses of the season. But we move on because, we do. That's what we do in sports. But what was your prediction? You said they 12-5,
11-6,
11-6. Is
Isn't
that
13-3 or 13-4?
13-4?
Man,
Because everything's on the line
when
here.
did I become the like anti-positive person?
11-6. I don't even think they win the division with 11-6. It's like a boat race.
I don't think the Rams are going to be that. Like the Rams are good, but I don't think they're going to be a 12 or 13 win team. Like I can see them splitting with the Rams and losing that darn tiebreaker. Honestly, like the way I had it set up was I had the Niners in Seattle playing a win and get in week 18.
Well,
at home.
If you look at it, to me, week 1, win. Week 2, win. Yep. Week 3, win.
Loss.
Loss. Week 4, win. Week 5, I say loss. I say loss on the road. And then where they could lose 2 in a row, but because of the break and the rest they have, I say win in Tampa, especially coming off the loss of LA. Win against the Falcons. Lose to the Houston Texans. Beat the Giants, beat the Rams, lose to the Cardinals, beat the Panthers, beat the Browns. They beat the bye week. I think they beat Tennessee, Indianapolis.
They better.
Chicago is going to be an interesting game because now you're looking at the revamped Chicago Bears with
the
Ben
Drew
Johnson
Dahlman
there.
game, baby.
It's
the Drew Dahlman game.
The Drew Dahlman game. Why did you sign with us? He'd be like, you didn't offer me a contract. It's Sunday night, and we're at home. And really, I mean, did you hear about the story when about their quarterback?
It was great. I loved it. It was so funny.
It was so bad. That painted such a horrible image for him. I was like, oh my God, he was trying to not go there.
I mean, I don't blame him.
I don't either.
If I was a young player coming out of college and I was like this top-tier prime talent, I would in no way say, I want to go to the Chicago Bears.
And then
but like, if he was coming out this year, I think it's a different story. Ben Johnson's there. Like, I think the coaching change certainly changes that kind of mindset for him. But, yeah, they were a mess last year for a lot of reasons. And I do wonder, like, if you did like an NFL what if, where does Caleb go at that point?
I don't know. I think Caleb Williams is really overrated. I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's that good. I really don't. And on top of that,
a hero ball.
Yeah, it's just kind of like what. And on top of that, dude, it's like he wanted to go to the Vikings of all teams. You know what I mean? I'm sure Bears fans were like, "What the fuck?"
Which, like, I guess would have been great in retrospect, like him replacing Kirk Cousins for a year, like, or him replacing Kirk Cousins, then not getting McCarthy. I do wonder, like, if the Vikings broached the Bears, said, "Hey, like, what do you want for first overall? We'll give you Kirk Cousins." Like, I do wonder if that was part of the conversation.
It could have been. Could have been. But yes, Caleb Williams. I don't know, dude. It's weird. Okay, so guys, that's going to do it for the show. We talked about Michael Williams signing, the CJ West signing, the schedule, and of course we covered the Brock Purdy contract extension, which went down yesterday. 5 years, $265 million contract. He's getting paid about $53 million per year. But if you equate this year's salaries, right around $45 million. I think this is a great contract for San Francisco. I think it sets them up for success moving forward. And then when you look at the needs of this team, there are some holes, yes, but to me, their biggest need going into the season right now is probably at wide receiver. But don't discount Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and their abilities and what they can do. I think they're going to have, both of them are going to have phenomenal years. And I think Isaiah Naylor could be a guy that becomes the next version of Juwan Jennings. He's a big, tall receiver, but he's fast as well, so we'll see what he does. You never know.
You never know. I will say this, though.
He's no Tariq Owens, I'll tell you that.
Oh, man. He's no Isaiah Hodgins or Russell Gage either. Yeah. Do you know which player leaving San Francisco led to the compensation pick that landed them Brock Purdy?
No, I don't.
Who
is it? Just tell me.
CJ Beathard Signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Trent Baalke. We got to get C.J. Beathard. He's a good quarterback. He checks
think about
all the
it.
boxes.
C.J. Beathard, if this Brock Purdy deal works out and he's wins a Super Bowl or is really a quarterback, right, when it's all said and done, C.J. Beathard may be responsible for giving this regime their 2 best players.
Wow.
George Kittle comes in under the radar during his college workout at Iowa, works out, and they go, who is that guy? Boom, gets drafted, becomes a future Hall of Famer, right? Then there's the compensation pick, goes and signs in Jacksonville for like a year or two, back to Trevor Lawrence, is really bad. Gets, funny enough, replaced by Mac Jones, who's also now in San Francisco. And because of that compensation pick, they land Brock Purdy, who now gets a 5-year, $265 million deal. So, Niner fans out there, you should be thanking Kyle Shanahan for trading up and having C.J. Beathard being the only quarterback he scouted in 2017, because he may have saved the franchise and this regime's lifespan. Thank you so much, C.J. Beathard, for giving us George Kittle and now a 6 to 5 year contract of Brock Purdy.
C.J. Beathard, everybody.
The
and
GOAT.
with that, we end the show. Where can everyone find you and all of your content?
You can find me on social media at 49ers.access is the Instagram, 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. You can also find me on YouTube at 49ers access or wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google. We're posting content all throughout the week. And usually on here with Dre Area Sports as well. So don't forget to like and share and subscribe to him on this very YouTube channel on top of that.
14-3. I love it.
That's higher than you. It
is. I was like,
he went higher.
I gave up the last game of the season because we were already in the playoffs. So we're like, hey, we're just going to rest our starters. I would say
that's
this
the Mac Jones game for you.
That's the Mac Jones game. I would say that if we go 11-6, that's a near failure for me.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Because if they have to fight their way into the playoffs with this easy of a schedule, then I think there's bigger problems going on.
They're not fighting their way to get in. The NFL is hard.
It is hard. It's very hard.
Guys are going to get hurt. Bosa will miss a game. I think.
Look, he says 5-12.
All right, Marcus. You can shove that one pride so up your mane.
Goff MVP.
We love you, Marcus. I have no idea who you are, but one pride, I guess.
One pride. At least you can say it. You can't be like F2TP.
I mean, hey, you can. You just sound dumb saying it. That's why it's a hashtag only.
That's why it's a hashtag. Strawberry Reacts comes in last second. Hey,
Strawberry.
That's it, man. Correct. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time. I'll be live again this Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time for the NorCal Sports Report. I'm going to have a special guest on the show. Mr. Ryan G. Hensley will be on there talking about the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to get his point of view of the draft and the signing of Brock Purdy. Should be a really, really interesting show. And, of course, I'll be joined by my good friend, Mr. Drew Forder, as we break down the Golden State Warriors and the San Francisco Giants. But for me and Sterling, thank you to everyone who tuned in today. The Niners get their guy extended in Brock Purdy, and they move on to what's next now? Is it minicamp? OTAs.
OTAs, man.
OTAs is up next.
Cover the team, brother.
Hey, you know what? I'm tired. I remember I fell asleep earlier.
This is where you say, I got kids. I got
kids and a wife. I got to sneak this shit in. All right, guys. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace! Thank you for watching this video. If you want more of this content, then check out some of these recommended videos right here on your screen. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by going to my website, which is nicotina.net, and there are memberships available under Dre Area Sports.